Hey everybody, it's Retro Knight. Surrender now or prepare to fight, and welcome back to our second week of Trading Card Game Tuesday. Now, before we get started with the Rocket On format, I'm going to leave two articles down in the below in the description. I kind of go over the introduction to Rocket On format, what cards were good, what cards were legal, what sets were legal, and Feraligatr being the best deck, one of the dominant decks with Riptide, Attack, and Misty's Wrath, and that kind of thing. And then, of course, the Slowking before it had the Errata, and Crobat, one of the first stops to Feraligatr. The second page that I'm going to leave you down below in the description actually goes over these Rocket On Legendary Collection decks and actually goes through for you and lists the decks of the format, so that if you're interested in playing the Rocket On format, you can jump directly onto that by playing on TCG1 like I do. That being said, we're not going to go too far into that. Some cool deck ideas for later decks that you see that you want me to play, let me know in the comment section down below. But today we are going back to the time capsule, and we are building around Dark Alakazam and Dark Hypno. We're going to be focusing on the Teleport Blast attack, which of course does not work alongside the resistance, but that's why we have Mind Shock for that. And also, we have the Dark Hypno right here. Now, the reason we're playing Rocket On is very, very important, as one of the cards in order to make this strategy a bit more consistent is, as you see, Alakazam and Dark Hypno both have 60 HP, which is why we have this card right here, the Rocket Hideout. Each Pokemon in play with Dark in its name, even your opponent's gets 20 HP. Now, I did not realize in Rocket On format there were a lot of cards that were cut that were really good, like Professor Oak, for example, but we still have Bill, so we're doing good. Let's go ahead and start with the Pokemon. Let's talk about one of the most important Pokemon in the Rocket On format, and that is Cleffa. Cleffa, whatever, tomato. This card right here, having a free retreat cost and being able to shuffle your hand into your deck and draw 7 cards, just is phenomenal. Yes, it's an attack, but it is like, you will see 1 or 2 of these as opponents start to set up. The only difference of decks you may not see this card in is Feraligatr. Not the Dark Feraligatr build, the Riptide regular Neo Feraligatr build. So, why Dark Alakazam? This is a card I've always really liked. I've always liked the original Damage Swap Alakazam. I've always been a fan of Sabrina's Alakazam with Psylink. I've just been a fan of Alakazam pretty much as long as Alakazams existed. So, with having said that, Dark Alakazam not being able to hit as hard on Pokemon that are resistant to Psychic, which in the Rocket On format, if we go over here to the Rocket On decks, we can see one of the biggest Pokemon that we have to deal with, as far as I'm aware, is Noctowl. I'm pretty sure Noctowl does have... No, but has a resistance to fighting. Excuse me, I apologize. Has a resistance to fighting. Gengar has no weakness, so that's kind of annoying. I can kind of see Muck being a problem normally. However, this deck doesn't rely on its Pokemon powers, so... And we don't have a lot of baby Pokemon other than Cleffa, so the Sludge Punch from Muck, of course, can kill Cleffa even with a Focus Band. But we don't have to worry about that since we're not playing any Pokemon abilities. We have a setup here called Challenge into Bench Manipulation. So Bench Manipulation allows us to flip coins for all of the Pokemon that our opponent have out in play, and to set it up we have Challenge. Ask your opponent if he or she accepts your challenge. If your opponent declines, or if both benches are full, draw 2 cards. If your opponent accepts, each of you searches your deck for any number of basic Pokemon cards and puts them face down on your benches. A Pokemon can't do this if his or her bench is full. When you both have finished, shuffle your decks and turn those cards face up. Now we gotta keep in mind that in the Crobat matchup, Crobat being a very good deck as well. I know for a fact Crobat is weak to Psychic because I've actually played the card before in person. 90 HP, we do have to keep in mind that the Mind Shock won't take it out simply because we don't apply weakness and resistance. However, we do have Dark Hypno in order to take it out, and we can also go for Teleport Blast to 60 and then trade out and go into Psy Punch. We do have to be careful though, because Crobat does have some very, very strong attacks, and we'll get into that later. For our recovery side of the ball game, we are playing Dark Slowbro alongside Scoop Up. We were playing Scoop Up. Doesn't like we're playing Scoop Up anymore. We have Reel In. When you play Dark Slowbro from your hand, choose up to 3 basic Pokemon or evolution cards from your discard pile and put them back in your deck. And then, of course, we have 2 energy retrieval to get our energy cards back to attack later on in the game, as unfortunately Dark Alakazam and Dark Hypno both require 3 psychic energies to really get those attacks going. However, to get into that Dark Alakazam a little bit faster, we go into now our trainer cards, which are going to be 2 Pokemon Breeder, 2 Pokemon Trader. You have Good Manners and Pokemon Trader. These 2 cards are like bread and butter, because Good Manners can't be activated if you don't have any basic Pokemon cards in your hand. So if you have just evolution cards in your hand, then you can search your deck for a basic Pokemon card and then put it to your hand. But let's say if you have just basic Pokemon, well, you can trade those off with Pokemon Trader to get into other cards with Good Manners. Of course, for build, because why not, is the best draw card that you can get other than Professor Elm. The thing about Elm is that you can't play any other trainer cards this turn, so that kind of shuts off a lot of really cool interactions. You do not have any energy removal cards in this format whatsoever. So you've got to play kind of fast to get around Feraligatr. Feraligatr, again, being one of the best decks. Dark Feraligatr is really good too. Not sure how good Kingdra is, but I do know that Genetic Memory, any evolution cards, needing only 1 energy with Pokemon Center. That's kind of cool to be able to recover all of your HP and use Twist your Distribute Metal energy off your opponent's Pokemon. That's really, really cool, actually. And Mud Splash. Opponent has any bench Pokemon, flip a coin of heads, do 10 damage. That's really cool. Paint Lock, I haven't seen this deck play, but I know about Dark Vileplume and shutting down trainer cards, so that's a thing too. Luckily, Dark Vileplume is, while weak to fire, it only has 60 HP. However, with Rocket's Hideout in play, it also increases our opponents up to 60, so we got to be careful of that. We've got the 3 Good Manners, 3 Double Gust. We don't have any Gust of Wind in this format. Again, we got the Elm, we got the 2 Rocket Hideout, the 3 Challenge, 2 Nightly Garbage Run, which I feel like do pretty much the exact same thing. But you do shuffle them into the deck instead of get them into the hand, so I guess it's a bit different. Might play Scoop Up over that, just because, like, it does the same thing, and we're recovering energy cards anyway with energy retrieval. Then we're playing 14 energies alongside those 2 Nightly Garbage Run. I feel like we definitely need to play Scoop Up so that we can utilize 2 times of using Dark Slowbro. We don't really attack with Dark Slowbro, but we can. 2 energies ain't that bad, and it almost knocks out things like Crobat. So that's really, really important. Crobat has 90 HP. I guess 2+ powers would knock it out. We don't do extra damage, so that's important. But, guys, let's get into those duels and see if you guys like the deck. Thank you guys so much for watching, and let's jump into it. Again, if you don't know a lot about the format and you have a lot of questions, please refer to those articles I gave you. They're phenomenal articles. They are not written by me. And some of the top Neo cards are up here if you're interested in playing that format or seeing any deck down below. Let me know down below in the comments section. That being said, let's go ahead and jump into the games. Alright guys, I've got a game for you guys versus Rodyon. And Rodyon is playing a very competitive Rocket On deck. One of the best in the format, only requires 1 energy to attack. It's very similar to Dark Furo, which you probably wouldn't know about just because you probably haven't played the second trading card game for Game Boy, so forget that. Pretty much it just attacks for 1 attack. You might be more preferable to regular Clefable. That might be a better synopsis of the deck that we're thinking of here. And I, of course, am using the Teleportation Manipulation. And the idea here is to use Alakazam to teleport Blast into your baby Pokemon. And your baby Pokemon, of course, can free retreat, recover your hand, and things like that. It became a thing. I, at first, did not have Cleffa. When I first decided on this challenge and this deck, I noticed that Rocket On lost a lot of cards, but every format gains their newer cards. This isn't a horrible hand. I'm looking at the Dark Hypno in my hand. I don't have a Rocket's Hideout. I feel like I should definitely bump that up to 3. But again, I do have Cleffa to recover those abilities. Now, what's really cool is the Baby War of Cleffa versus Cleffa forces you to flip coins, so you're kind of at a disadvantage if you're not using baby Pokemon yourself to just put your opponent in a very awkward situation where they have to flip those coins in order to do things. There's a really cool loop that I have created with this deck, and I'll show you guys a little bit later. It's going to come down to the wire, so hope you guys aren't going to go anywhere for a while. Go ahead and grab your popcorn, grab you a soda, and get ready for an intense TCG match. So I'm looking at my Pokemon Power, my long distance hypnosis. I also zoom this in really well and change the filter coloring so that you can see it really well, but also so you can see the cards in like really HD as best I can. Unfortunately, on the very first turn, I do fail my long distance hypnosis. I do recover off that sleep status affliction on the second turn, but that is very unfortunate. Now, as I said in the beginning when I was doing the deck building, Cleffa, you're going to see multiples of them pretty much no matter what your opponent is running, except maybe Feraligatr, and I'm not talking about the Dark Feraligatr Noctowl build, I'm talking about the actual, just the Riptide Feraligatr. You don't really see that in there. However, I find Cleffa, even if you're just playing 1 or 2 copies, you are playing consistency against your opponent's other baby Pokemon that they might be playing, but also just consistency. Baby Pokemon are just phenomenal consistency in this metagame. My opponent does get me out into my Slowpoke, which doesn't really do anything for me. As my Cleffa's on the bench, I can't really recover my resources and shuffle my hands together to get new cards. However, I am looking at my hand and I'm like, okay, yeah, he's just going for Cleffa and whatever. So, like, my biggest thing is I can just sit here, go for long distance hypnosis, shut down his Cleffa, force him to recover and use coins, but also attach energies to my Drowsy and evolve it into Dark Hypno. Funny story, have you guys ever called it Hypno instead of Hypno? Probably not. I guess hypnosis and like hypnosis treatment has always been an easy word to say, so you didn't call it that. I will tell you one card I have come to very much dislike in this format. More so used against me. I can say I like it a lot as far as a card itself being Focus Band. I definitely should play more copies of it, even just to preserve my Cleffas, to recover my hands, my Teleport Blast with my Alakazam, or of course, my Hypno. I also feel like I want to take the Slowbro ratio down a little bit, as it's kind of a late game card and it doesn't really do anything for you otherwise, and maybe up the nightly garbage run, just so that I can get more cards back into the deck for my recovery strategy. But we'll go through it as we're going into this game. We do have 2 Psychic Energies on there. I'm thinking if I can get Bench Manipulation out early enough and he flips enough low coins, then I won't let him get out Kingdra. I don't know how fast he's going to get into it. However, he does have that Cleffa on the lead slot. And what's really cool about Double Gust and also Warp Point is forcing your opponent into those baby Pokemon is really going to slow down your opponent, because you basically have to flip, because those attacks still count as the baby Pokemon rule. So you still have to flip a coin each time that you try to attack over, even if that attack is beneficial to you, like Eek or the Sputter from, say, Magby or something like that. You always have to go over them. He does get into that Seadra that is not good. What's really good about Kingdra too, Kingdra doesn't require a lot of energy to attack, so you can just use Recycle Energy and then use Pokemon Center to recover all the health back off the Kingdra, and then it has that genetic memory to just use whatever type of attack that you need to use. And then Twister, you can flip 2 coins, and for each heads you get to discard an energy from your opponent, and that is phenomenal stuff. We do here go ahead and retreat back into Cleffa. I'm looking for energy cards. I don't really need Dark Alakazam right now. I need to get into Eek, because, again, I do have that baby Pokemon out. I do have to flip for it. I do lose my turn immediately after that. But I get into some decent cards here. I feel like the Pokemon Breeders could also be nightly garbage runs or more consistency cards. I haven't really needed them at any point. I mean, here is good just because you get into the Dark Kadabra. But I also think I want to up the Dark Hypno ratio, just because I feel like it's actually a pretty strong attacker in its own right, especially if my opponent wants to get out a lot of cards on the field, and even if they don't want to take the challenge, and challenge is failed and they don't want to flood the bench or allow me to flood the bench, I get to draw 2 cards out of it. So I either get benched Pokemon, which essentiates my entire Dark Hypno, Dark Alakazam, Cleffa strategy, or I get to draw 2 cards. I mean, it's no Professor Oak, but it'll have to work. I also draw into Dark Kadabra here with a Mind Exchange, which is really cool too because I can just discard any card that's extra out of my hand in order to draw one card. Matter Exchange, not Mind Exchange, I apologize. Plus, with Mind Shock from that and Alakazam plus high damage level with Bench Manipulation, you don't have to worry too much about things that have a resistance to Psychic. And looking over the list I gave you guys, I don't see a lot of things that are like fully resistant to Psychic anyway, that have that resistance to like my Bench Manipulation, my Teleport Blast, or anything like that. Finally, I'm going to get Dark Hypno on the active here for Bench Manipulation. He has to flip 3 coins. If he hits all tails, he has to then flip for Focus Band, and then if he fails that, then no, he gets the heads. He lives on what's God. So he would have flipped another tails, and then he would have had to flip for Focus Band. Now he flips for Twister, and I do not pay attention that I lose a Psychic energy on this turn, and I make a terrible mistake, being the fact that I now want to basically attach an energy for no reason. There's no point to attach it to Slowbro. Slowbro doesn't do anything for me, or Slowpoke. I guess Fickle Attack is a thing, but we still don't do enough damage to Kingdra even with Fickle Attack, and even if we bring it down to the point... Oh, I attach it to the Dark Kadabra, I apologize. I should have attached it back and gone for Bench Manipulation on this turn, even if I had to flip for the Focus Band. Because if he flips later and gets heads, you know, maybe if I would have done it on this turn, he would have flipped the tails. I see no reason to go into Dark Alakazam already, because I could just go for the Matter Exchange. I can also recover the energies out of the discard pile with the Nightly Garbage Run if I want to go that route. What's really funny is, for being an automated simulator, you can actually brick yourself. You could go for a Nightly Garbage Run or a card that allows you to confirm targets, and then if you confirm targets without clicking them, it actually takes your entire turn using the card, but you don't get any of the cards back that you targeted with the card because you didn't actually click on the targets. I know, that's a mouthful, right? Also, I'm very curious in the comment section down below what artwork you like better. Do you like Dark Hypno better, or do you like the Dark Alakazam? And do you like the deck idea in general? I feel like the Rocket's Hideout just kind of gives the deck a little bit more pliance, just to have the Hypno and the Dark Alakazam at higher HP, which of course gives you more time to attack with Teleport, Blast, and Manipulation. I wish that baby Pokemon you had to flip twice for an attack. I think that would be really neat. I think having some type of like Sand Attack-esque thing would be really cool. I think I need to look at the other baby Pokemon, because I feel like the other baby Pokemon kind of give me that without, like... Let's see, what does Neo Smoochum do? I actually never thought of that when I thought of this deck, and I also never thought of Meditate from Jinx as well, if that's a thing. Just because I know the base set got rotated out. Let's see. Smoochum, Neo... Let's see. Is this the Neo Revelation is... That's number 4. I want the Neo Genesis. Let's just type in Neo. Is this the only Smoochum available in the Neo cards? Psykiss. Choose a special energy card and your opponent shuffles the... Oh, that's kind of nice, actually. That is kind of nice. I wonder what the Jinx from Neo actually does. See if it's actually any good. No, not really. Strange Dance, flip a coin, does 40. And the defending Pokemon is confused if tails it does 20 damage. Once again, you have to fish out all of those energies, and I just don't know if that's worth it. Neo Revelation. Ooh, this one's got a Pokemon power. The Neo Revelation First Edition. The other one. I want the other one. The one with the Pokemon power. It's Hug and something else, so... Jinx, Neo, TCG, Hug. It's got a Pokemon power of some sort. But I don't know what it is. It's like you can't find that card. Yeah, it doesn't show the Hug one. I'm not sure why. I'll have to look it up on this simulator once I get done recording. It's crazy. I don't see it though. There it is. 2006 Generations. I feel like that's way not in Rocket On format. Yeah, it's really not that good. So never mind. Way ahead of myself on the Rocket On format. I missed everything that was happening in the battle. Probably just some eek going on with the Cleffa trying to get into his other Kingdra. I think he also gets rid of my second challenge. Yeah, with his Rocket Sneak Attack. That's a good card. Being able to target other trainer cards. And, like, thinking about it, like, if I had Pokemon Breeder to be something else, then that would be yet another target card that Rocket Sneak Attack could hit. So that's kind of something to think about as well. Considering Rocket Sneak Attack is so strong. Definitely some more cards I should consider adding into the deck that I currently have. Alright, so finally I go for Professor Elm of my own to try to get out of the situation. And I've got a couple of trainer cards, but I can't use any of them because once again Elm locks out every single trainer for the remainder of the turn, which is... sorry. That's one thing I hate about Elm. But, like, I can't say anything because I used to use Rocket Secret Experiment, and it would let me flip a coin and, like, basically, search my deck for any card. But if I hit a Tails, then it ended my turn immediately. So I guess in hindsight, Professor Elm is not as bad as that card. So I guess I can't complain awful too much. Alright. Let's see. Oh, man. Good Manners. I can't use none of these cards. And I think I decided to try to eek. I actually have the left side cut off where the chat is, where the cards are actually initiating. I think I actually hit a Tails and failed the eek. I think that's what happened here. And he doesn't, and he gets to draw. I draw in a Bill. I draw in a challenge. I've got Double Gust. Good Manners is whatever. The Pokemon Traders is whatever. I hate getting to a point with the deck that, like, I know the deck is functional, but I don't know what to, like, increase or change to make the deck better. If I remember, the Pichu does damage to everything with a Pokemon power. I think it does 10 damage to everything with a Pokemon power. If I'm not mistaken. Pichu Neo. Pretty sure, yeah, does 20 damage to each Pokemon in play with a Pokemon power. Oh, that's cool. That hits baby Pokemon. Because it does 20 damage to everything in play. One cool thing about Alakazam is I can see that it's super effective against Muck, which is a very common stop. But then, like, Steelix would absolutely wreck this deck. But, like, I saw the Steelix, what was it? Steelix Alakazam? I forget exactly what build it was using Steelix, but I think that would be cool too. But definitely not the Dark Alakazam. It doesn't really fit. Plus, the Pichu Hollow Foil from Neo is so pretty. It's got the yellow and the blue on both sides. It looks really good. Could definitely fit it in. Not sure over what, though. Definitely going to try some deck garage fixes and see what I could come up with to change these decks. I also might amend and change, like, and make shorts about these decks. Matches I play, upgrades to the decks, things like that. Just to have the Pokemos for the shorts. I think that would be really, really neat. He finally gets his active Kingdra out, and he fails an attack because of Baby Rule, which allows me to switch out back into Dark Hypno. And the thing is, if you're looking right there, I actually pretty much kill it, but he gets his Focus Band, and both of his Kingdra have Focus Band. So they get to keep their Focus Band, Pokemon Center all the damage off, and then continue to just attack. It's actually a pretty bonkers strategy. So he goes for another Rocket Sneak Attack, this time only hitting a Good Manners, which really doesn't do anything for me. Still got that Rocket Stadium in play, that Rocket's Hideout, which is really helpful for preserving the HP of Alakazam and Dark Hypno. However, when I put Dark Slowbro into the deck, I never realized that there was like a really good card with it to recover Cleffa, so that Cleffa could continue to shuffle the deck over and over again. He did lose the Focus Band on one of the Kingdra, but he has it on the other one, and then he has a third one on the Cleffa. Focus Band is definitely something I need to max out on. I do like the Good Manners. I do like the Energy Retrieval. I do like the challenge, but I'm just not sure what all I want to add to this deck. I'll do like Nightly Garbage Run, simply because it lets me get energies back in the same vein as Energy Retrieval, because Slowbro doesn't let you get energies back. I feel like I definitely need to play Scoop Up as well, Because if, like, Cleffa is on the bench and getting damaged in any way, then I can easily put it back in my hand. I only lose one energy card out of it, and I can get another energy card later and eek, and just kind of recover my resources, which is very, very important. One downside is Dark Hypno, of course, does take 3 energies alongside Alakazam. Now, Kingdra doesn't have Pokemon powers as well, but any baby Pokemon that they're playing are 2-hit KO'd. So that's really, really important, especially if they're on the bench. You could KO them from the bench and get prizes that way to kind of get an early initiative into the game. So that's really, really important. Finally, the HP level that I'm at, I can barely see it with my glasses. I'm at 50, I'm at 80, so then he knocks me out with the Mud Attack from the Genetic Memory, and he's at 0. So now my Dark Alakazam being able to KO this thing is just not in the cards. I feel like plus powers are also something very much missing. I think Strength Charm is the Neo equivalent, if I'm not mistaken. Strength Charm. Pokemon TCG. Pretty sure. EX Expedition. Thought it got printed in that. But that makes sense why it's in that other game, because it's an Expedition card, and a lot of the Expedition cards got reprinted into that game alongside Neo. Alright, he's got that second Kingdra out. This time he continues to fail the baby rule, which is cool. Slowbro can get me some cards back if I wanted to get, like, Dark Hypno back, so that's kind of an option. Decide to get back, well, pretty much all of them. The Dark Hypno, the Drowsy for the Long Distance Hypnosis. Long Distance Hypnosis also shuts down baby Pokemon powers as well, so you could easily knock them out. I think adding some cards to knock out baby Pokemon is really important. I think we'll have to go revisit the idea of that. Just to be able to knock out babies. I feel like I wish there was A+ power for this, because Psy Punch, while it's only 1 energy, Psy Punch, Long Distance Hypnosis evolved to Hypno, attach a Psychic, and have 10 more damage, then you can easily knock out a baby Pokemon. I failed the Long Distance Hypnosis again, trying to target the Kingdra and wake up on the next turn, but he's continuing to fail all these coin drops for Kingdra as well. So, we're attacking into my baby Pokemon. I do have a little bit of draw power being the Kadabra here. The Slowbro, once it's on the bench, like, it doesn't do anything for me, and I can just recover the Slowbro and that. De-evolution spray might be a thing. I wonder if I can de-evolve my own Pokemon with Mew, although Mew is probably rotated out, but it was a thought. And Pichu does have free retreat cost. I don't know what other baby Pokemon are even worth it. Tyrogue might be worth it. Tyrogue probably... And Tyrogue do Smash Kick? So, like... Yeah, Smash Punch. That's a free kill on a baby plus a retreat. That's kind of solid. It knocks out any baby Pokemon in 1 hit. I mean, it's a double coin flip to knock out a baby Pokemon, so it's a pretty touchy situation. Finally, I get my Dark Alakazam in here, and I can easily just teleport Blast around. I was looking at Dark Slowbro trying to see what I can really do with it. I also, at some point, had another challenge card to try to get him all the way benched out. But it also benches me out as well, so a lot of times people are going to refuse it, and when they refuse it, you just get that opportunity, you know, to do more that you want to do. He's at 60 HP right now, and what's cool is every Pokemon Center he plays, that Recycle Energy returns back to his hand to reutilize his Kingdra in any way he wants. Finally, he does damage to Dark Slowbro, and the Hideout is actually kicking me in the face, because I was thinking, okay, I could put this Focus Band on my Dark Alakazam, and then he knocks out Slowbro on the next turn, forgetting that I have 20 extra HP thanks to the Dark Slowbro in the name and the Rocket Hideout that I have played on the field. And I feel like Hypno should be charged back up alongside the Alakazam, because I've got a decent amount of attack power. I think when I built this deck, I wasn't sure how offensive Dark Alakazam alongside Hypno would be, But I think Dark Alakazam's Teleport Blast into babies is like a really cool niche. Because in the case like this, how they have babies on the bench, his Cleffa's got 20 damage on it. So I could easily bring in Pichu and knock out his Cleffa and make him throw a coin for baby rule onto the Pichu. And then if he fails, the next turn I just bring in Alakazam for free again and Teleport Blast away. So 30 doesn't sound like a lot, but Kingdra is 3-hit KO'd by Alakazam. I think also being able to knock out the Pokemon tools, the focus bands early, is a very important thing. I know Last is definitely a rotated card. Pretty much all of base set, all the cards that you're used to seeing from the original sets are all rotated out. So you've got kind of the new faces to deal with, you know, being the focus band, Cleffa, Double Gust, Warp Point, cards like that, Good Manners, Pokemon Trader. Weird Pokemon Trader didn't get rotated out, considering it is a base set card. I guess it got reprinted for the Rocket On so that it was legal in the Rocket On format. So that's kind of interesting. Alright, Slowbro can't do anything. Looking at my discard pile, I don't really have anything I can really go into here for the discard pile. This is a bit more unfortunate than I would like it to be. I don't have any spare energies. I do have 2 Alakazams, and I do have a Psypunch that I can bring the Kingdra in range with. But if he's got another Pokemon Center, then it's not even that big a deal. There's 8 cards left in the deck for me and 14 left for my opponent, as he did Imposter Professor Oak me recently. However, Cleffa into Slowbro, being able to retarget Cleffa, bring it back to my hand and bring it back to the field and re-eke everything alongside the Nightly Garbage Run, letting me recover more cards in my deck. I pretty much can't deck out as long as I have Cleffa. I definitely think 4 Cleffa is phenomenal here. I'm not sure how to go about fixing this. I might even have enough draw power without Elm. I know that's kind of crazy, because I feel like Cleffa does pretty much the same thing. I feel like Warp Point is something I need to put over Double Gust. Double Gust is okay, but Warp Point is insanely better. He's only going for the genetic memory into the other. He doesn't have a 4th energy card to go for the Twister, so I could pretty much just Psypunch. Unfortunately, Dark Hypno has a retreat at 2, so Psypunch isn't enough to bring down the Kingdra. So you're probably saying, Retro, you're saying you're gaining ground here, but you're not gaining prize cards. But you see, that's the thing. His Kingdras continue to recover to max HP, so I never get a chance to knock out either one of the Kingdras. Once I knock out the Kingdras, the baby Pokemon are nothing to me. So it's really a lot closer than it looks on paper. Plus, the decks are kind of dwindling down slowly as he uses Elm and other different cards to recover his resources. Though, the cool thing, too, with Pokemon Center, you don't have to put Kingdra back in the hand or anything like that. You can continue to use it. Now, while recovering again, getting another Cleffa down, my idea here is to continually recover cards to my deck, because, yeah, I would have 12 cards and then I would still have to draw 7, but I would continue to be able to draw 7 as long as he fails the baby rule coin. I can continue to draw into cards, and I see Slowpoke into Slowbro, back to Cleffa. You know, it's like this endless Super Rod loop of getting cards back into my hand to utilize them later on for whatever purposes that I need them for. Whether it's recovering cards back to the hand, putting cards back in the deck so that I don't deck out via Cleffa, or like the Nightly Garbage Runs or something like that. I feel like every card that I've got in the deck has a purpose. And I feel like the deck is kind of tight, because I'm actually running 2 Cleffa, because the deck got kind of tight with different cards that I wanted to play. However, I feel like there is definitely some deck garaging that could be done with this deck. I always feel that with decks and cards, though. I always feel like I can make a better deck. Finally, he gets his Cleffa out of there, fails another baby rule check, and I draw into the second hideout. I'm glad I only play 2 of those. With as much draw power as I have, it's kind of like a deadweight card, and I don't feel like a lot of players play stadium cards in this format, so I feel like you kind of advantage yourself out. I mean, even if they're playing something like Dark Muck and they play it themselves, then they're still giving it to you, you know what I'm saying? I'm looking at this with 4 cards in my deck. I pretty much, even with these warp point situations, he warp points me into Cleffa. And the problem is I can't really go into Slowbro because it's taking damage, and then I still would come out with the fact that the whole win con here is to use the Cleffas to recover cards back to my deck so that I don't deck out and then continually teleport blast here with Alakazam. Because at some point, other than his Cleffa, he can't recover cards from the deck either. So it's going to become a deck out situation. While it may not be a close prize card situation, it is a very close deck situation. Our decks are getting incredibly, incredibly thin. I've also got that Drowsy to go for long distance hypnosis. I hate the low amount of energy retrieval I have in this deck. And I don't mean the card energy retrieval, just the ability to recover energy cards so that I can continually attack with things like Hypno and Alakazam. I feel like Hypno's kind of the early mid-game Pokemon, and Alakazam's kind of like your late-game Pokemon. Because on late game, they're already going to have a lot of cards out with like stronger Pokemon, and you're going to have trouble setting Hypno back up when we're just sitting at 80 HP. Although I say that, and Kingdra functions really well as a 90 HP deck. However, Pokemon Center is not a card that we would be able to play, simply because we require 3 energies a pop, and we cannot get around that. I'm like, okay, Nightly Garbage Run, I can put 3 more energy cards back into the deck, and now it is a 7 to 8 game in card count. He has 2 prizes left on the board, and my idea is to get into Cleffa and have him fail the baby coins, and then it's a deck out situation, because he doesn't have energy on his Cleffa, and he would have to basically throw away his entire hand. Although, I didn't think that through very well, because he's still got 13 cards in his hand. So at some point, even if he returned all those cards to the deck and drew, he would still be sitting at like 13 cards. This did not dawn on me at the time, though, and I'm thinking, okay, I basically just have to teleport blast these Kingdras till he runs out of Pokemon Centers, which he's pretty much nearing out of. He'll use all of his Pokemon Centers, and then I'll be able to teleport blast his Kingdras for free. Because I can take damage with the Alakazam, and it'll be fun. Too bad Super Potion also got rotated out. I think that would be very cool of a merit, being able to discard 1 energy. I think Recycle Energy would be a little bit cool here, too. I'm not 100%. It would give me 1 extra energy to keep onto Alakazam and Hypno, which would only make it where we had to attach 2 Psychic energies. I don't really use Mind Shock all that much. This deck is all about Teleport Blast, so I would not mind losing that 3rd Psychic energy, just to be able to use that Recycle Energy for any type of discards, any Kingdra situations. I'll always have 1 energy on the Hypno or the Alakazam to be able to do something with. Speaking of the Pokemon Center that we were just talking about, there it is again. And all of that damage that we've done with these Teleport Blasts, Teleportation Manipulation, has been mitigated by Nurse Joy. Darn you, Nurse Joy. I would have gotten away with it too if it wouldn't have been for that meddling nurse. Wrong show, Retro. Wrong show. Do not insult the meddling kids of Scooby-Doo. Anyways, got some Dark Alakazams that are powered up, and he just continues to Pokemon Center. So, unless he magically doesn't have an energy in the 19 cards he's holding in his hand to be able to get himself back out of those situations, if anything, I might have too much draw power. The Elms might not even be needed. I think the consistency cards of the beginning, like Good Manners, alongside Pokemon Trader, could be upped to take out for the Professor Elms. And then I feel like the Slowbro could also be recovered with other cards. I believe Nightly Garbage Run could recover it and put it back into the deck. Boss's Way at maybe 1 or 2 could maybe take 1 or 2 slots out of the Good Manners Pokemon Trader so that I could specifically search for Dark Slowbro, Dark Hypno, Dark Kadabra, and Dark Alakazam. So that's kind of a thought as well. The Boss's Way is phenomenal. Nope, Clefairy's rotated out. Man, it would be so cool if you could, like, Pokemon Breeder all the way to Clefable, Is there a Neo Clefable? Because that actually might be a shout. I wonder how good the Neo Clefable is. Probably not very good. Definitely nothing like the original Jungle Clefable. I don't think there is a Neo Clefable. I think there's just a Jungle Clefable, which cannot evolve like that. No, there's a Neo Genesis Clefable, or Clefairy. I don't know if there's a Clefable, but there is a Clefairy. Oh, that's pretty cool. Square Dance is kind of neat. But, I mean, doesn't really help anything. Alright, so, he fails. Not this time. He gets a heads on the genetic memory, and he is able to get rid of the Cleffa, and that is the end of the game. I was going to go for round 2, but he didn't have time. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you guys for liking the idea on Twitter of teleportation manipulation. Let me know your deck garage fixes, your plus and minuses down below in the comments section. And until next time, I'll see you next time. Power on, power off. See you soon. Than you think.